Hi there, Jason. Hi, Carlton. How are y'all
Hey,
doing?
Laura.
Hey.
Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. I am excited about this topic, looking forward to it. So we'll give people a few minutes to trickle in. And then we're recording it. So for folks who can't make it, we will share the recording out and go from there. But again, the whole idea here is how much can we learn in a short amount of time? And if we do this regularly, I think there's going to be a lot of goodness that comes out of it. All right. Okay, so topic of the day is how do your customers perceive your software, right, in a way that supports profitability? So just to recap why we're doing this, product managers have the best job in the whole world. They get to build the coolest stuff and they get to have a lot of influence over the neatest things. And so we all want to build something that our customers love and they're willing to pay for, and then they talk about how happy they are. So that's who product people really are. And the environment in which they operate is just complicated. A lot of collaboration has to happen. There's a lot of stakeholders that are involved. And so this kind of ping-ponging between strategy and tactics in different areas of the organization, it's kind of the life of the product manager. So there's a lot going on. That's why we're doing this series here, is to pick off some of the really cool topics that make this job either crazy making or really fun and awesome and energizing. So hopefully we take the crazy and turn it into something that people can tackle and get their hands around. So it's about every 3 weeks or so I get to talk to Jason and Carlton, and maybe we'll even have some other guest speakers, but these two colleagues of mine are kind of core developers of the content in the Profitable Software Academy. And because they built a lot of the content and because they get to interact with students in the program, we're learning very quickly based on the questions that we get, or the questions that you get, and the successes that some of our students are having, what are good topics to talk about and share more broadly. So the Profitable Software Academy is a kind of career supporting education program. And that means you guys get a lot of opportunity to hear from students about what's working, what are they struggling with, and what are their successes. So with that, let's dive into the topic.
Let's
Jason,
go.
I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you for the introduction. So, hey, everyone, whether you're watching live or the recording, I really want to focus on value and what to do with what we talked about last time when we defined value. And the idea of value is the benefits that customers receive, lesser total cost of ownership, both the price of the software solution that they purchase and all of the ongoing costs to maintain, administer, manage, upgrade, train other people how to use the software and so on. That all goes into TCO. And in the last session, we talked about these benefit cards. And one key point about these benefit cards that I think is really important is that we're focusing on customer segments receiving the benefits of the solution. And I bring that up because it's easy to misinterpret the benefit card as a benefit to us. What's our benefit if we do that? If we build this feature, what do we expect to happen for us as a solution provider, instead of thinking about, okay, if I provide a solution that helps someone save time or save a trip to the pharmacy, there's a real cost savings there, and I'm not wasting the time driving, I'm not spending money on gas. Well, that's a customer benefit. So these are always in the context of the dimension and magnitude of the benefit for a customer. So we want to extend that today and talk about what to do with these cards. And that is a solution benefit map. So I've taken a few key concepts out of the Software Profit Streams book to really zero in on this idea of using the map from our benefit analysis we talked about last week to then identify what are the features that could best meet these needs of those specific customer segments. So this really helps us to figure out the packaging of the solution for different segments, because I can provide the same solution in a different package to one segment than for another. So I may have a basic segment, a customer segment that only needs a basic solution, or I may have a completely different segment that needs a whole lot more capabilities and is willing to pay a higher price for that. And it also allows me then to identify what are the gaps? Where am I potentially exposed because my competitor may have an aspect of a solution delivering benefits that I don't have. And now allow me to then decide whether I want to respond to that. So that's the whole point of the map. So what does a map look like? Well, we simply take the cards that we identified in the last webinar. We take our benefit cards, we start putting them together. Like, what is the collection of benefits that a feature can deliver? And that's really one way we really want to frame the idea of what are features. Features are vehicles by which we deliver value through the benefits that we offer. So, Carlton, what else would you have to add here about benefit solution maps?
Yeah, I got two questions because this kind of came up recently for us. One was the student said, those ones that are the question marks, what do they do with those items that are in the question mark category? I mean, the ones in the X category, waste, kind of obvious, right? But what do you do with the ones in the question mark?
Yeah, well, the first question is whether or not it is already on the roadmap or in a backlog. If it's not, we've identified a potential feature that is important to a segment is, do we add it to the roadmap? And with that in mind, how important is it to start getting feedback on adding to the roadmap sooner rather than later? Is this a vital feature that we really want to deliver in the next release and we should jump on it immediately because it's an important opportunity? Or is it interesting and we can defer it because there's other high priority work that we need to do first?
Okay. Oh, and the other question was, is this similar to any other frameworks that exist that product managers might be currently using today? So this individual is trying to connect it to something that they were doing in their day-to-day, the benefit map.
Yeah, I think definitely connects to roadmaps for sure, because when we talk about roadmaps and adding items to a roadmap, not only do we put the card with a feature on it, we tend to list the benefits. So this would absolutely contribute directly into a roadmap. And I also believe that it could be also associated into a story map. If I think about the whole walking skeleton backbone of a story map, I'm actually starting to identify the essential features. I might as well tag the benefits that I've identified and the segments to which they apply across the story map. So you can imagine sort of this vivid, multicolored story map where we identify what's important to different segments and the benefits that they're expecting from the solution.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, kind of amplifying the story map. That's a nice idea. Very clever.
So here's just a quick example showing how on the left we have the different segments. There's a whole series of benefits that they're expecting and the mapping of those features. So you can see it actually can allow a visualization of how you intend to serve multiple segments with a collection of features. Because as you can see here, I've got a feature is valuable to different the same segments. Likewise, this feature here, valuable to both segments. And this, I think, will actually help us to think about when we get into some future topics around pricing and thinking about packaging and profit engines, enables some differentiation of the solution, which will allow me to offer the solution at different price points, which is going to obviously maximize profitability. So it's all interlinked. I mean, the idea of the profit stream canvas being a system really starts becoming clear here when we start doing this kind of detailed mapping. So the other aspect of this thing is the whole product framework. And we really like this framework because Ted Levitt, Theodore Levitt, has written not only some great shorter articles for the Harvard Business Review, but one of the classic books on marketing that I really enjoyed reading is The Marketing Imagination, where he really introduced this notion of the whole product and what it really means. And some people may be familiar with it, but this notion of generic, expected, augmented, and potential product is really the essence of what he brings to, I'd say, a really useful lens or framework for thinking about expectations of product. So, Carlton,
yeah, I was going to say, this is kind of one of my favorite frameworks. I've read that article in the Harvard Business Review. It's a very good read, and it really kind of helps set the stage for how to understand how to use this framework. And what I like about this visual representation is it kind of helps you think as a product manager how your product needs to grow over time and what sort of capabilities or features you need to provide. And one of the things I actually sometimes I learn from working with our students is sometimes they have a little trouble trying to understand that generic product. Like, what is that fundamental thing that the solution needs to do to satisfy the customer, right? And then and oftentimes what they do is they take a lot of things that are in the expected ring and they put it in the generic ring. Like, and I often say, hey, you need to pull those out, right? Those are when you the general solution, right? And then you start to think about the specific things that people expect. So I like to use mobile phones. That is a good example because they're very easy to understand. So a mobile phone, like a smartphone, it is an information device. That's the generic solution, but it can also do phone calls. It also connects to the internet. Those are some expected things that you would expect. You would now today expect that it can be extensible by adding new applications to it. But then, then you start really thinking about the augmented ring, and the potential ring is really where the fun stuff starts to happen for product managers. Because if most of what's in your solution is all unexpected, you're really just building this Me Too product. And sometimes that's where product managers are, like, hey, we're behind the ball, the competition's got ahead, we've decided we want to compete in this space. So you got to fill out that expected ring. But the augmented ring is how you start to differentiate, right? It speak to your strengths as a company and organization. And then the potential ring is, how do we attract in new customers or new segments or new markets, or hold on to existing customers? And sometimes I find some product managers are maybe focus a lot on the expected ring, right? Because they're, sometimes I get this way myself because I'm busy. Or they get into the augmented ring, they understand the differentiators, they don't think about the augmented, or the potential, which is how do we grow and how do we keep pushing that boundary out?
Right, I think you're right.
I was just going to interrupt here because we have another webinar coming up with the same team around the industry life cycle, and I'm certainly seeing the relationship, the big system where the augmented and potential product is very much related to the understanding of things like the industry life cycle. And so this is a little foreshadowing to what's coming in the next webinar. But I think as we pull these together, we really are trying to connect the dots of the system and like these little chunks of it. So this is great.
And I think it highlights the difference between new product development and the solution lifecycle versus existing solutions. So this is a framework that needs to be updated. It's a living framework because the competition is changing. What is a differentiator today becomes part of the expected product tomorrow. And there's emerging technology. There's new needs identified by customers. And we have to think about the future benefits that are going to be required by customers, which will then allow us to get a step ahead. All of this combines together to be a growing, living, breathing framework that actually allows us to think about the future in creative ways.
Yeah.
So as we put these together, this really allows us to think about the way that we can actually create these solutions to create the economic opportunity. That's where we get to the actual profitable solution. We can take the benefit maps with the whole product thinking and then think about, okay, what is the expected solution we actually are going to deliver? Either whether it's version 1 or version 4, we're continuing to increase the quality of what we're going to deliver. We're continuing to serve different segments and satisfy their needs. And then also achieve parity, neutralize competition, achieve the same level of performance as them. And then we get into the killer features. This may allow us to unlock what really is the one feature that provides the vast majority of the value. And there's a couple examples there, Uber, Figma, who knows what it might be for your solution. It might be, the ease of reordering. And there's nothing like the one-click ordering from Amazon. I don't know if that's our killer feature, but it sure is nice. So any questions from the audience? We're right at the 15-minute mark here, Laura.
That's what I want. I figure everyone can find 15 minutes. So if there are any questions, stick them into the Q&A. Otherwise, if you have questions you think about afterwards, you're welcome to send me an email and we can either weave them into the next one, weave it into our follow-up email, or maybe it's even a question that warrants its own 15 minutes.
On topic, yeah, absolutely.
And then while we're just making sure all questions are answered, if you want to flip to the next one, we have an upcoming webinar on the 28th. This is the next product management minute. This is, I talked about this earlier, but the industry life cycle. It seems obvious, and yet it matters in so many different areas of managing the entire system that leads to sustainable profitability. So I think this one's going to be kind of a nice core topic. That's July 28th.
And that'll be Luke instead of me with Carlton and Laura, because I'm going to be on a beach somewhere enjoying the last day of my vacation.
And yeah, and I've already seen a little bit of the preview, so I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about. Well, I don't want to steal Luke's thunder. So
Well, we will have a case study. He's going to talk about, there you go. He'll talk about some past experiences on that one.
Your challenge there will be bounding Luke to 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm good at it. I just put him right off, And then we have on our website, we have recordings from past ones, so you can go check out, we mentioned it a couple of times, but there was quantifying value we talked about last time. The recording is there. And then it's, I think, on July 18th, this is related to, but not one of our product management minutes, but I think hearing Luke and Melissa Reeve talk about who owns the pricing models, and between product management and product marketing, how should these teams of people think about pricing? Both of them have a lot of great experience and insights into this. I think that conversation is going to be really interesting. So register for that. And yeah, we'll just keep trying to produce interesting 15-minute segments here. Any last thoughts? Any last questions before we wrap?
Yeah, let me drop these links into the chat so people can get them. If you haven't already.
Yeah, actually, I have the last product management recording. I can put that in the chat real quick. There's that one.
And then this is the Luke and Melissa.
All right, if you do Luke and Melissa, and then obviously all of the stuff, you can just head to our main. Here, let's see. This is the main blog where most everything appears at some point. Registering or recordings are there.
And there's next product management minute. Oh, wrong one. Nope, that's it. Good.
Yay. Okay. Well, thank you both.
Right.
Appreciate your insights here, and we'll see everyone on the 28th.
All
Bye
right.
now. See you. Thanks for checking in,
Bye-bye.
Jennifer. Bye.